you want to take it over?
Sure. So, Dee Dee Formaster,
Here.
thank you. Margaret Marcucci,
Here.
Lori Lutu.
Here.
I know Autumn is out of the office today and couldn't make it. And I don't see Cecilia. Did you make it, Cecilia? I don't think she's here. Julie Weissman Steinbach,
Yeah.
Stacy Allery,
Yeah.
and then Sabra McWhorter said she may be a little bit late today. She is not here yet. And it looks like we do have quorum, so we can get started.
Take it over. Oh. I can't read the people for the public comment.
I sure will. So no action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of each day and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments.
Anyone have any public comment?
I do not see any hands up.
What really was Dana for the record? I'd like to welcome everyone to our first subcommittee meeting. We have a lot of work to do, and it's going to be really exciting to see where this committee goes. And thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so let's go to item number 3. Discussion regarding necessary education for medical personnel, patients with disability in the public. Now this is a big topic, but I think what we wanted to figure out is maybe a few possible laws for us to at least start with. This, and here we're just brain story at this point. Someone, no idea is a bad idea. So does anyone have any suggestions?
This is Dawn Lyons for the record. I suggest we start with a checklist with our audiences, being that we have medical personnel listed as the first group of audience that we would be educating. Maybe we should start with medical personnel and what we think we would need to educate them about regarding um, necessary medical education. Do you think that's a good idea and just take each audience by checklist?
I think that is good, starting with educating, first educating and showing them medical professionals what is needed in a disability population, like the other meeting on medical that you invited me to, they did something similar like that. So I think it's a first line of what we can do. Yeah.
One of the problems that I know a lot of people are having is with transportation when you're on Medicare. Medicaid seems to be pretty well covered, but Medicare is not.
Weird. Margaret,
Hi there. Yes. Okay. As Dawn knows, I've been doing the ADA Medicare, medical training that they've had. And here it's them listening to people with disabilities and family members. My education, educating them is starting in the emergency room or in a medical office, because they do not know. They react when my friend has an autistic little guy, and that kid will go totally bonkers. And the first thing they want to do is sedate him. And we've had war about that one. And every time he goes in, mom calls me and I end up going in with her so I can keep both of them and the doctors at bay.
So this is Dawn Lyons for the record. Margaret, I have a question about that though, because each individual circumstance would be different, right? So
Right.
maybe a what's the word you just said when you put someone, calm them down?
Right. They would automatically give him medication.
Yeah, maybe that might be right for some and then not right for others,
Not
right?
right for this one. And I've actually had a family that called me. I picked them up as clients. Mom took the child in. Dad went to the hospital and they refused to let him in because he didn't go in with mom. And he called me and I said, well, you know what? I'm sorry, but he's a dad. You need to let him in. They did let him in, but it took a heck of a lot of convincing. And for me, Dawn, I actually had a doctor look at me and go, "You've been a smoker. You need to go home." I was having a major heart attack. Yeah, I agree. We need to invite medical professionals. I have a lady that I work with at the hospital now, and she's been really good about listening to families that have people with disability, even seniors who can't express themselves.
So what I'm hearing then is not so much individual specific issues, but they make good testimonials when educating medical
Yes.
personnel
Yes.
about being more mindful about listening to their patients and their clients, right?
Yes. And that's what is really hard, is for them to listen to people. And this lady is a social worker. I'm very close friends with the director of our hospital now, who knows what I'm doing, and I invite them to I sent you an invitation of all the ADA classes that I've attended. And it's quite insightful. Let me put it that way.
I don't know about anybody else, but
I agree with Margaret that um definitely the emergency rooms, which are always, the first responders, and maybe EMTs maybe might need to be our first two groups.
Okay. Way back when we made cards for people with dementia and Alzheimer's, I talked to the chief of police. The sheriff isn't talking to me. Oh, well, no great loss. About giving family members, if a family has a disability with a kid or an adult, so they can show it. I have to, when I walk in, the first thing I have to hand them is a pacemaker card. So they know they can't put me into somewhere where there's magnets. So I'm now as a disabled person.
no, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Overwhelmed because it's such a big state. There's so many. Even if we just say we're going to focus on emergency medicine, which I think it's a great starting. But like, how do we reach? Well, first we have to create a curriculum or something, and then we have to figure out how to reach all these professionals. Like, where do we begin?
Okay, so this
I
is Dawn Lyons. Just to keep us clear and on track here, I want to
Yeah,
make sure that we're staying as organized as possible so that we can
that's
keep these bullets clear, right? So we have emergency personnel is our priority. And that includes first responders, EMTs, emergency room staff, potentially firefighters and police as well. But because a lot of them are also trained in medical as well in emergency response. So if that's going to be our main focus first on medical personnel is the emergency personnel. under that category, what we want to train them on is being better listeners and on now I'm not sure, Dee Dee, exactly what the training opportunity is for them regarding transportation, seeing as they don't really have much to do with that unless they're ambulance drivers, right? But is there something related to the transportation that would be included for medical responders or emergency medical responders?
My concern is that they listen to the client when they're being transported because a lot of times people with disabilities know their bodies and they know, like I need to be on my left side or I need to be on my right side or I have trouble breathing when I'm on my back. Things like that. Um, it hurts when you pull on my left leg because I have problems with arthritis in my hip, you know. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by transporting someone. That and the fact that there's a horrible lack of transportation to begin with. Um, but
So I think,
Dawn, I would, how I would do this. Just a suggestion to throw it out. I would educate one person in the sheriff's office, one person in the EMT group, so that they're talking to someone who's from their group. And so they may have more of a tendency to listen if we educate that one person and have them educate like the firefighters or educate
you,
the
you,
emergency room staff.
you
So
actually, Dee Dee, I'm thinking sorry, this is Dawn Lyons. I'm thinking that we could make a video and we could describe these things. And I think it's much more impactful when we, the people with disabilities, are describing these scenarios and explaining how much of a nightmare they've been for us and for those of us who we love. And how it impacts us, as, how it scares us to even call for emergency personnel, or we avoid the ER because we're afraid that we won't be listened to and that there could be a vital mistake made because of it, or, things like that. I think it would be really impactful to create like a short video that we could send and ask the supervisors of those facilities to make sure that their employees watch that video. I think, do you think that would be impactful?
I think that this is Dee Dee Formaster for the um, anyway, I think that it would be doing a video would be great, but I also would reach out to the programs, the EMT trainings at the community colleges and college levels. I would reach into the nursing programs. I would, when they're doing their internships as doctors, um, you know, I would reach into those groups. But like I said, sometimes, they have a tendency to listen more if it's coming from one of them, either video or whatever. But if someone from the EMT group could facilitate for us, I think that would go over better.
So
This,
like that, that's a great idea. So like getting a video done and then talking to the administrator of like the medical college and all the programs that train these professionals that go out and become EMTs and first responders and just ask them to show their students the as part of the curriculum. If it's a short, 5-10 minute video, I mean, I don't see why they would refuse, right?
this is Margaret Marcucci for the record. Let me ask my, I'm very close friends with our EMS and EMT director here. Let me ask him. I mean, I'll have a kind of a closed circuit night with him tonight. So I'll sit and I'll ask him what would be the best way to train, and he might be able to give me some ideas. All I can do is ask. I can ask the ex fire chief and things like that. I mean,
That would be great, Margaret.
I
Thanks.
I don't care. I ask him questions all the time.
Well,
I know that this is Dee Dee, Floor Master for the record. I'm sorry. I know that my doctor's retiring, and his big complaint to me when I broached the subject with him is that doctors have approximately 15 minutes to discuss with you about what your needs are. And he said that he has had a horrible time trying to find a replacement for him because most doctors do not listen to their clients very well, and they're in a big hurry to keep their 15-minute time window. And so maybe we need to educate the disability community too when they call up to say, I'm going to need some extra time other than the usual 15 minutes uh, to be able to discuss my situation. So that might be good too.
This is Dawn. Stacy said in the chat that also dental professionals as well. That's a good point. Julie,
well,
sorry.
correct. I'm thinking that the DD cast did MSCIS did a big thing about emergency preparedness. I wonder if they may have contacts they would show us for further education.
Would you be interested, Julie, in reaching out to the CILs or the DD Council to ask?
Sure.
Is
Just,
there
just a
sorry.
minute. Just please remind me I volunteered to do that.
Sure. Which one? The DD Council, the CILs, or both?
I'll do this. Yeah,
Okay. Let me write that down. Julie,
because
CILs.
if
And
we're
then
looking at, if we're looking at emergency personnel, they may have done a
you're right, because they did do that giant project on their emergency preparedness and
yeah.
updated their websites and all that. So they may have, I don't know. That's a good point. And
Why?
then
If we
is
don't
there
have to,
someone
if we don't have to recreate the wheel,
right? So is there
uh,
someone, Stacy, aren't you involved with the DD Council as well?
DC,
Yeah, I know. I'm involved with the DD Council, and I actually have, I can reach out to the executive director too, as well.
Okay, I'll write down that Stacy, you are going to ask the DD Council about if they've made any efforts to reach out to them and educate them about the needs of people with disabilities.
Because I know right now, since I'm because in two of the um well, actually I got elected as vice chair, and also um I'm a chair of two of the committees, so we talk about what we can do for the disability communities, and most of it, one of it is on like what we're talking right now on how to make it more accessible on transportation, medical, pro- um, yeah, medical professions, how to make it more accessible. So getting ideas from that.
Okay, thanks. So that I think that's a good starting point. We should see what other people are doing. Is there anyone else besides the DD Council and the CILs that anyone can think of that we should probably ask about if there are any current efforts or if there are any ideas out there besides what's already what we're just talking about now, or if anybody's already taken any steps. I can't think of anybody else myself, but so that's probably a good task for the next time we circle back and with some
Maybe,
answers from, huh?
sorry, this is Dee Dee Formaster for the record. Didn't mean to interrupt. Um, I was thinking maybe we could contact community colleges and universities to see maybe if they have anything in place
Sure. Do
to
you have specific ones that you could contact?
I WNC which is here in Carson, and then University of Nevada, Reno, and Truckee Meadows Community College is
This is,
near me.
yeah, this is Margaret
Okay,
Marcucci. I can do Great Base, and in fact, I know the director of nursing.
great. That's perfect. And then I can contact CSN out here in southern Nevada. Um, does anybody have any connections with the medical college at all? I can reach out to since I'm on the medical advisory committee for through Medicaid. I wonder if I can reach out to the chair of that committee and see if they can suggest who I can reach out to through the medical college and see if they currently have any programs or curriculum that involves education about people with disabilities. I can look into that. So CSN and medical college through I think it's through UNLV, or is it separate? I can't remember if it's private or if it's through UNLV, but I'll check on those two. I think that's it, right? And then there's just private ones like like the private technical colleges and things like that where, they train like the allied medical services. But I think these are good starting points because these are the major educational facilities that we could check with.
Mhm. Sorry.
So I think we've got a good task force on the emergency personnel. Let's move on to patients with disabilities. Is there a forum that we want to create for an education for patients as well? Or do we think that, because I think, tell you the truth, I think the DD Council and the CILs have it in their emergency preparedness plans. If people with disabilities review those plans really thoroughly, they're going to see that it's suggested to them to reach out and be proactive about what their needs are so that they can let their, medical providers know what their needs are before an emergency happens, or, what, just to make the arrangements ahead of time so that they don't have to worry about not being listened to at the last minute, or not being trusted that, in their state, whatever it may be, that they're not able to speak for themselves, or that kind of, those kinds of issues. So I'm not really sure that, unless you guys can think of something in specific that's different than that, that we need to train people with disabilities on, I'm not sure it's something that we need to do.
Dawn, this is Margaret Marcucci for the record. It'd be nice, but we don't have the foggiest idea what the hell is going on with them. They made all the videos. Everything we get comes out of Salt Lake City. Battle Mountain sometimes gets Reno, sometimes gets Salt Lake City. We're a loss. State calls us Mayberry because we are our own entity among entities. And when we say be a proactive, I have a lot of the clients that look at me and go, what are you talking about? So I sit down and educate them about that.
So maybe we're looking at more rural areas that are more in need of the education for people with disabilities in general. And I think if we were to guide them to those resources that are already there, like through the CILs, because they just did a very comprehensive, disability emergency preparedness plans on their websites, and it goes into a lot of detail. There's videos, there's, a lot of stuff, a lot of information on it. But like you said, in each area, it's specific to that area and it's specific to those people. So I don't know if there's necessarily a whole lot we can do to really blanket train people with disabilities other than just be there to answer their questions in the areas where they're at, right? Or to make sure that, if they do reach out to us, we know, who to direct them to that could help them because they also are familiar with that area, or that kind of thing. There are, I know that I've seen on those emergency preparedness plans a breakdown of all the emergency service phone numbers that are relative to that specific location, even in the rural areas. But like you said, if there's a deviancy to that because it's like maybe in an unincorporated area of some, frontier area in the middle of nowhere in Nevada, which there's plenty of those, that we couldn't necessarily say outside of those phone numbers who they could call because there may not be a specific other number that they could, right? Or another resource. So I'm not sure that there's anything practical that we could do as a medical subcommittee to educate the public in that regard. Are you following me?
I'm following you because I live out of town. So I live in a rural area. And I have another couple of families that live in rural areas. Now we call dispatch. Depending on what we have, it's a fire, it's city. If it's health, it's county. The same with a bunch of other ones. Now I know that because I know the fire chief of everyone because I made a point to go and talk to them so I know what's going on. So if somebody asks me a crazy question, I can usually answer the crazy question. And I did get asked by a church today if I would give them some information because that was one of their questions too, is pointing people with disabilities, seniors that are having problems. Where do they go? Who do they ask?
Well, and I think that's a good point too, that you're making is you're able to do that because you're doing that proactive research and you're making sure that you have the answers that, other people may need that are in your area, and then you're educating the local, the church and the, places like that that ask for it. And I think that's important for Centers for Independent Living to be aware of. So, since you're working with RCIL, that's wonderful that you're doing that work. I think it's also just as important for the other Centers for Independent Living to be able to answer those questions and go and train, the churches that are requesting it and things like that in the rural areas of that they have jurisdiction over, if you can call it that. I don't know what other word to use. But their areas, their territories that they cover, they could also be a part of that education as well, which if you ask them, they probably are saying that they are. They did create that whole website and resource guide. So, I mean, it looks like the Centers for Independent Living are doing a great job already of educating the public and educating the people with disabilities about, what they need to do in order to be proactive about their emergency medical needs. So I'm
Ron,
not,
this is Margaret Marcucci. So I actually made the CILs made me do 2 videos for them when they were here in Elko. They caught me, sat me down. We had to talk about how to get people out of the house when fires and stuff like that. My girlfriend in Winnemucca did this. I asked them to have her do the same one for her perspective too. So we know that they were made, but we haven't seen them because
oh,
they're
they presented to the Silk. I don't know, maybe
yeah,
you forgot, but they
they
presented
did.
their
Yeah,
videos and they went through their whole,
right.
their whole sites and everything with us.
But the problem is that a lot of people do not have internet. And I have, as I told you the other day, I have clients that I'll meet at the office. I'll meet them here. I'll take my computer. I'll go to the senior center so they can use, and unless it's on TV or on something they can see, they're not going to watch it. I know this too darn well.
Right. So in those cases, are you suggesting there's an alternative way of training those people that we're not doing already? Or are we doing that already? Are we doing the outreach? Are the Centers for Independent Living doing the outreach to let those people know and meet them where they're at so that if they don't have internet access or they don't know where to look, that they at least have a contact that they can reach that does have that information available for them or could look it up.
This is Margaret Marcucci. Now, the senior center has a lot of the information. Um, Pace Coalition, I'm working with them to try to get information out so they know those videos are there. And it's just a matter of, hey guys, but unless it comes on regular TV, sometimes people don't watch it.
Okay. Well,
Just
I'm
as
gonna have to say, Julie,
Julie,
stop me, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're getting
I
short on time.
was gonna say we 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 could put the civic education on the list, but I think we all agreed we start with the emergency consent, and that this is just the first meeting of our subcommittee. We'll get to the consumers. Let's start with something achievable. And I think the emergency personnel is a good place for our brand new committee to, to begin. That's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say.
This is Dawn Lyons, if I might go, Julie. I can recap what we
Yeah,
decided we're going to do, and then we can decide how long we need to achieve that and come back and circle back around with another subcommittee meeting.
sounds good.
So we've got right now, we're going to ask the community, we're going to ask um, our local community colleges and universities and medical schools. We've got Julie, you're going to reach out to the CILs. Stacy, you're going to reach out to the DD Council. Dee Dee, you're going to reach out to WNC, UNR, and Truckee Meadows. Margaret to the Great Basin, and I'm going to reach out to CSN and the Medical College. And we're going to ask what are they currently doing to educate their staff, their emergency responders about people with disabilities needs. Stacy, did you have something to add or a question?
Yeah, I just had this because I did a similar project on this when I was on a training program. It was kind of relevant. Um, but it was basically the same thing on mental health and the gaps that individuals with developmental disabilities face. And what I found out is that medical professionals don't have the education. Why there's some with education, but like some don't have education and don't know what to do when it comes to individuals with developmental disability. So it's important that, yeah, to educate them, like we talked about, like because they don't have education on that aspect of things.
Yeah, yeah. Dee Dee, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I know when Margaret and I have gone through the trainings, the one thing that sticks out for me is that Stanford Medical Center does have one of the best um, client-centered medical programs. And so we should maybe contact them and see what they have as far as training goes. And we could probably, the ADA training program that Margaret and I have been attending, um, they they may have some contacts there at Stanford where we could ask that question.
And it's funny that you say that, Dee Dee. This is Dawn. I was going to tell everybody that on April 25th of 2026, it'll be the seventh annual conference on disability and healthcare and medicine through Stanford Conference on Disability and Healthcare and Medicine. So that is going to be an amazing resource for us, I think, at least for some of us to attend that conference and to learn from how they're doing things and what they're saying. I think it would be a great opportunity for us to learn about that, about them and what they're doing and their, state of the art procedures that they're performing out in the field that or in the educational field that we could bring back to this committee. And it's not really that far away. If you think about it, April isn't that far. So let's do this. Let's do this research in our own medical um, at colleges and educational and the CILs and the DD Council, like we said, and come back and meet before April and see what we come up with. And then we can meet again after April, after the conference, so that we know we have a better idea after that, even, how to compare to what Nevada's doing and what we found out. And then we can actually create a more comprehensive plan as to how to approach this training. But I would suggest maybe we should meet after maybe February. Does that sound like a good time to meet? It's a long time from now, but I think it's because we want to learn from the Stanford conference as well in April. I don't think it's necessarily too long. And it's not like we can't do more research if we think of it before the next meeting. Does that sound like a good, reasonable amount of time to find out answers from our own places and come back as a subcommittee?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works.
Okay. I'll put out some doodle poll on the February dates.
I just had a question real quick. On the April, on the conference that's coming up in October for independent living, is that gonna be like, are they gonna be talking about that too, medical? Do you know? Are you aware?
I haven't seen I don't think they've put their agenda out yet. If they have, I'd have to review it to see if there's anything in there about that, but we could definitely attend their workshops if they do have something on it for sure.
Okay.
That's a great point, Stacy, but I'm not sure if anyone else in this subcommittee is going except for you and me. So we could just look into that. But
Okay.
we've got to wrap this up because
I'm
we
going,
all.
Dawn.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Dee Dee. I forgot. I'm sorry. So yeah, us three,
Okay.
we can all look into that when we're at the April Rural Conference, sure. But we have to wrap this up. We got 2 minutes and we have to have time for public comment, but I've got it listed down and I'll send out reminders next week about what we were tasked to do. And so you all have it in writing and you don't have to remember off the top of your head.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys have a great weekend and let me know if you have any questions after this. But go ahead, Julie, I'll let you finish up the agendas and I'll read the public comment thing when you tell me to.
Sorry, my computer.
Oh, I'll go ahead and read the public comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
could you?
No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 1-253-215-8782. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 929-904-1434 and passcode 707401. Comments will be allowed at the beginning and end of the meeting and will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Persons making comments will be asked to begin by stating their name for the record and to spell their last name and provide the secretary with written comments. Any public comment? I don't see any, Julie.
I hope everyone has a good day.
And that concludes the meeting and its adjournment. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank
Have a good
you.
afternoon.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Thank you.
everybody.